Okay,
what you can do, you can take one picture over there, the movie, and there's a red button over there. You see there's a red... All right.
सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे 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 सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्।
This is a bhajan, the one singing, that in this planet Earth, what we are going through, so much miseries. A lot of people busy working hard and making their livelihood, and then they're suffering and emotional suffering and stress. So this material life is not the perfect place to live for indefinitely. So we have to seek the answer, which are to go back to the home, real home. What is the real home? That's what this bhajan was. She's asking to give me moksha. You know the song you heard about moksha, to nirvana, the stage of final stage, to be liberated, to go back to home. And that is what the devotee is singing in praise of the Lord and asking His blessing that eventually, once I'm through with all this material desires, work, duties, whatever I have, I must go back to home, not suffer in this material miseries, ocean of miseries, go deeper and deeper into many different lives or in different destinies in material, all material destinies, whatever you see in today's, with your open eyes, whether they are walking or not walking. Trees are also destinies. So they all have the sufferings. They're all going through the same thing. They have the presence of atomic soul, and it has consciousness. So today we are going to talk about some of the things which will be on the topic of Mother Earth, and I have drawn up some writing to be sure that I stay on foot, otherwise I can continue to speak out of the line and keep on going. So they say that American slang is very that you want to have a cake and eat it too, but yet not realizing what the American forefathers of the United States of America had done for all of us. Those noble forefathers were brilliant, and they followed the universal natural science of reincarnation, science of birth and death. And they were following the Hindu science basically to give the makeup of the Declaration of Independence. And that Declaration of Independence is the region of the freedom of all the human beings, for the freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of mind, freedom of expression. At that time they said, you don't interfere with us. Let us give the freedom to all the people, scientists, astronomers, astrologers, all those people, let them think what they can do. Today what happens? Because of those noble forefathers, the foreseers, they are able to give us great hope in advancement of exploring the cosmos. You can very well see right now that how many rockets the United States of America has sent. These things could not be possible if those freedoms were not given. And those are the facts of life. Maybe you need to. So we are going to talk about why this Mother Nature. Today I just was sitting over there on the chair and I get a phone call from Leak City, and they say that there is going to be a tornado in Leak City, so be sure that you watch. These environment damages are taking place more often than ever had been thought. There are a lot of Rita and all those hurricanes and tsunamis are building up, and a lot of fires are taking place. These are not accidental. Humans, by their own errors, by their own mistakes, hurt themselves. Like you heard about the people hitting their own feet with their own axe, those ignorant people, and that's what they do. And because the ignorance is so much, because of the reason they don't have these kind of sciences of natural laws, universal laws, which tell how to live on this planet Earth perfectly, with full of austerity, without, all kinds of contaminated material desires which are unwanted. And because of that, the planet Earth is getting heavier in putting out the resources to feed people more, and it's getting more and more into trouble. Now, for example, Mother Earth and Mother Nature, they are interconnected. See, Mother Earth, if you have the ecological imbalance, immediately the Mother Nature will start reacting. That's how it is. Basically, we have to understand that humans cause the Mother Earth a lot of problems, depletions and all this thing. And because of these reasons, the Mother Nature is reacting, and we must, I'll give you one example. The respect of all the elements. They are the creation by the Universal Father, because the symbol Om, the one you are hearing right now, the Om means the Father, the Mother. He is the primeval sound. That sound was the one which caused the manifestation of this universe. And the sound vibration is the one you link with the Almighty. He is beyond time. He is beyond birth and death. But he can appear whenever he feels like on this planet Earth as this embodied soul continuously passes from infancy to childhood to youth to old age. Similarly, the soul passes to the next life. This is the condition of the soul. The souls are atomic souls, and these atomic particles gives what it contains is consciousness. And we are gathering in the consciousness as if like a rolling ball. Like you take a soaking oil ball and drop it from the mountain top, and it will soak and it will become heavier. And that's what your consciousness, with all kinds of ideas floating around, start becoming heavier and heavier. So you have to have some kind of classification material, and that science is the Om sound vibration which will keep you alert and focus on the things what you want to do in this life. Otherwise, material life is full of bombardment of ideas. And here this guy is giving ideas, but he may not have perfect ideas. What keeps our work to go into smooth way, we have to remain focused in our mind. So we make our mind as our best friend, or we make our mind as our number one enemy. So there are two things. You can make your mind as your best friend, who works with you and give you the right direction. Or you can take this mind into a destructive path and destroy yourself and then you are just completely, just like in my last speech, I had given the information that how a chariot with 5 horses whose senses are not in their control, and the horses are running wild goose, what will happen to the chariot and what will happen to the person who is sitting inside that one who is a living being. And that example you can go into Ecology 1 DVD, the one my lecture, the previous lecture. So we have to learn to take a control on our consciousness, but then we have to find out first who we are and where are we coming from. These examples have to be, these things have to be understood first. First of all, you're coming from a perfect source. And how can you be imperfect? A lot of sectarian ideologies, what they are trying to do, they're trying to keep you in your company, and they will say, no, God is perfect, but you are not perfect. That is ignorance. Because we are seeking for perfection, that's why we are scientists, we are becoming highest level, and we are exploring. If we did not have perfection, we could not send the very first rocket in this. Or we could not even fly jumbo airplanes. The perfection is the reason that we are able to. But we are not as perfect as the Almighty God. But we must seek for the perfection, and that is number one thing. That this is a very serious mistake and cause people to do whatever they want by not keeping them on the rein. You have to keep a rein under their mind to understand that you cannot do imperfection to remain into happiness. See, perfection has to be taught from the very infancy. We try, but there can be karmic action which can cause a little bit problem, but still we go back and try our best to remain in a very perfect ways of life. Love with our wife, love with children, remain put with one wife, so that the children don't suffer. Unfortunately, in today's time, there are a lot of people, they are admiring other people's wife, and they just pull each other and have problems, and what happens? The family gets destroyed, the children get traumatic, they go into suffering and problems and mental problems, and these are things building up and applying. So family values and motherhood of womanhood and femininity is very important. We cannot look at women as concubines, and we cannot look at women as play games. We have to look at women as the mother, because she is the one who gives the birth to the child. And because of that lady who gave the birth, we must have a great regard and respect for that woman. Without her, we won't be here. So the motherhood, mother nature, Mother Holy Cow. Now comes the Mother Holy Cow. Why these people, ancient people, always have respected the Holy Cow? It's a source for our infancy. Now today we have a lot of chemical factories. We can feed it a little bit milk, but this is only in very advanced countries and limited to very rich people who can afford it. But common people in all over the world, what can they afford? Can they afford the chemical milk? No, they cannot. They have to live on the natural way. And there are billions of people on this planet Earth. How many billions of children can you feed with the chemical factories? It's a big business. The cow milk, is cow the problem? No, cow is not the problem. It is the problem created by humans. They mix in the feed of the cow some of the animal scrappy, dry one. And cow by nature law is vegetarian. She is not going to eat. It's a universal law. So Bernard Shaw, he says, with all the expanded visions of the human beings, they have yet not determined what food they must subsist upon and what food they should not subsist upon. And under the circumstances, all these dumb animals, they know exactly what food they should eat. Now, for example, you take a sheep. You put a dead body right in front of the sheep and tell her, hey, come on, don't worry about the wolf. I have cut the sheep for you. You eat. I mean, I cut the wolf for you. You don't get afraid of the wolf. You eat. She won't eat. You can force her. You can do anything. She's not going to eat that wolf. That's the nature law. Horse. Now, why they are natural is called herbivore animals. That's the number one, herbivore. And then there is a category of carnivorous animals. Is human beings herbivore or carnivore? No, they are not carnivore. If they were carnivore, they would have the same razor-like teeth like the wolf. They can tear apart a bull running in the jungle at almost 30 miles an hour, and they can climb up on the neck and cut it just like that, like a sword, and it's gone. 2,000-pound bull. You cannot do it. We have the bodily structure, and these ancient Hindus, they call now Hindus, but these were called ancient. This was meant for all human beings, this science of natural laws. This was not mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the word Hindu. These are coming from the country like Islamic people when they were walking towards India, invading. They saw the Indus Valley civilization, and then they call them Hindu. But the people who practiced, there was no such name. They were spiritualized people to go and looking for monks. That's the word. In Bhagavad Gita, you will never see a single word of Hindu word. This is a science for the body, mind, and soul. It is meant for all human beings. Now, why these ancient have figured out? Because they were given, they were not coming from Stone Age. This kind of mentality that there was a Stone Age and there was the Iron Age. These are all kinds of people who were not knowledgeable, did not know what they were talking about. The ancients were in the first yuga is the one where people were very learned and scholar. Sapta Yuga. That yuga, in that period, people were very advanced. And when they descended down to the planet Earth, they knew everything. They were scientific. And as the time is going down, people are becoming very stone age type of mentality. Don't know what they are doing. So those people have given these information. And Manu Maharaj, the father of the mankind, wrote these information over 45 million years ago. And in that he speaks about that how this body and mind and soul works. Now, for example, when you look at your body, we have molars. Humans and horses, cows and goats, they're all molars. They chew the food. That's the flat molars. The intestinal tract, they have already figured these information many thousands and millions of years ago, and yet we call them Stone Age. There was no Stone Age. Stone Age is coming now. So intestinal tract of the horse is 12 times the body length. 12 times the body length. So in other words, horse is supposed to eat grass, and the grass does not get decay. It's not toxic. It does not start smelling bad. And if it stays longer time in the intestinal tract to extract the juices out of the apples and fruits and vegetables, what we eat, it's not going to cause any kind of cancer polyps. Now you can take one example. You put an apple on the dining table, and you'll see how fresh it will be 2 weeks from now. Now you take a dead body of the animal right over there, you will find out that it will start having flies and all the insects, and it will start decaying very fast. And same thing in the body system. So when human body intestinal tract is 12 times the body length. If suppose, Michael, you are 6 feet tall, your intestinal tract is 12 multiplied by 6 is 72 feet. So it takes longer time to extract the juices pass through the intestinal tract, and so is the horse, so is the cow, so is the goat. But if you take carnivorous animals, the intestinal tract is only 3 times the body length, so that it can pass down all the toxic waste very quickly. So they don't have polyps. They can eat the hard, dead body substances, and they don't have to cook it. Still they can digest it and pass it down. Have you ever heard about lion and tiger have cancer? No, they won't have it, because their body, God has made arrangement according to each body's bodies, according to their desires and their action in human life. Now, herbivore animals are one directional, but they don't have free will. No animals has free will. Only the humans has a free will. And that human exercising free will in the wrong directions, under the influence of the very wrong people, under the influence of wrong sectarianism, causes this self-destruction, hitting their own feet, and they destroy their own families and the nations and countries. They think they are advancing, but what is the advancement of that life where there is no happiness? They miss the happiness because of these kind of fast kind of activities in the wrong direction. Their train is moving in the wrong direction. Now, take another example in the human body. About 180 years ago, these people were doing some stomach open in surgery in Europe, and then they found some acid might have come out from the stomach, and it burned the sheet. And when they saw that white sheet have some holes, they couldn't figure out. Then later on they figured out there was some acid. They tested, it was hydrochloric acid. But the ancient knew that the human bodily system was designed to eat the vegetarian food, which is not very harsh on the body, not harsh substance. And so the hydrochloric acid in the human body, in the herbivore animal who are eating vegetables and all this, is 1/20th times the strength of the carnivorous animals. In other words, carnivore animals have 20 times stronger hydrochloric acid. That gives the answer right over there, the digestive system. So God is, this is not my mistake or anybody's mistake. I'm talking about the universal laws, what they made it, and how these different bodies are categorized in different form of life. So you as a free will has to decide. I can only give you the information, but it is your decision what you need to lead your life into, and otherwise you fall victim to many kind of medical advice and all this thing. These are happening. So hydrochloric acid, when it is 20 times in the lion or tiger or wolf or fox or any of these carnivorous animals, they can quickly digest the food, their meat, dead bodies. But humans, for example, there was John Wayne. When I remember when they were doing this, and the news broke right away, and they found out it has about 38-40 pounds of dead meat stuck into his intestinal tract. Then now they are writing in the Google said, no, that was not the reason he died. they opened the stomach and they found out. So they are trying to defy what happened. But I was there, I was listening the news, and the news cannot be wrong on the first time, okay? Now, they can change later on just to prove, okay, you can still eat beef and continue. There was no such problem with John Wayne. There was no such thing as happened. But because he was eating the wrong diet. Now what happened when the scrappy were given to mad cow disease happened? Is this my law or God's law? The nature what God Krishna has made is permanently fixed, absolute truth. There is no change. You cannot deviate. You have to live within those laws. You cannot say, I'm going to change my law and make this earth and put a rope around the earth and hold it tight and take it with me. You cannot do it. You have to live. Is the man belongs to the earth or the earth belongs to the man? That's the biggest question. And those control freak people out there are trying to make this earth to control. But it cannot be controlled because they are passing by. We are all going through. We are all passing through one by one as the time comes. So we cannot. So great, this American Indian chief, Seattle, he spoke and he wrote, he says, does the earth belongs to the man or man belongs to the earth? The fact is that we belong to the earth. So these are the things. So now coming to the acid, then we have to look at the claws and paws. How sharp are the claws of these tiger? One tiger just do it, you are gone. Your head is just chop off. Can you do this with this kind of nails? If you try to scrap it, maybe one of the nail might come up. Come on. And that will happen. So the nature, look at the natural laws, universal laws. What are the universal laws? Binding all human beings. And they are all uniform. They know your body function is the same as my body system. So what it has to do, I'm this, or I'm Christian, I'm a Jew, or I'm a Mexican, or I'm an Indian, or I'm Japanese, or I'm this, or I'm a Muslim. What all this designation has to do? But your body function is the same. You eat, sleep, make, defend the same way. There is no difference. What makes your mind makes you better than other person, or your qualities should make it better than other person? The qualities are the one which should make you better than. It is not like you show off all the people and say this is one category and all these categories belong to heaven. And this side of the categories are all going in hell. Is it possible? No, it is your own action, karmic action, cause and effect, which is physical law of the universe, which are binding all these universe into harmony and moving in a very harmonious way without deflecting. Now, if you look at the Earth versus Mars, they are within their own axis and moving in the cycle with the sun. Are they fighting with each other? No, causing each other. If they are sitting in their own position and they are moving firmly. That is how these universes are moving. Now, how the universe comes into existence? You think somebody's out there making a universe or something? No. There is a Brahma Jyoti which is beyond hundreds of thousands of suns. Even won't have that much fire. And that's the boundary of the spiritual planet and the material planet. To cross that boundary to a spiritual planet is very difficult. You have to become fire to go back. And from that emerges the sops of the cotton balls, like the sops of the cotton balls, like a big ball of fires, round, and they are inert, and then slowly it cools down, and they come into motion again. And when they come into motion, the life starts settling in them, according to whatever that place was. Now, many of these planets of our planets, they come to ending cycle. Now I'll give you one example which will be very necessary. this is what happened when the forefathers took a control. That freedom was given to the astronomers. Before that, astronomers had no say. They either could be burned or they could be killed and things like that. Scientists were not allowed to do any talk. They had to get out from our system. Now, once the forefathers of the European side, like Voltaire, Rousseau, Bernard Shaw, all these great people decided that we need freedom from these impositions. So Europe got into freedom, and there was a lot of activities to stop all kinds of persecutions and things like that. That all the history. So I'm not going to go into this history. But here's world famous astronomer Carl Sagan wrote a book on cosmos explaining the Hindu science of Vedic astronomy and time frame of Brahma in close correspond to modern time scale. Now, how this started, when British were there in India, they took all those books, advanced books of India, and they opened what they called Oriental Studies program at University of Oxford. And it starts somewhere by 1858, and then those studies went into nuclear, atomic, airplane, anti-gravity, and all those activities start from those ancient books, on Vedic books. And those are Sanskrit books, and they're still using. They hired Max Muller, the one who was a German expert in Sanskrit. He became the head of the Oriental Studies program, and he led that, and he extracted all the knowledge of these, what you see. And even Hitler had sent a team of experts in India to learn some of these airplanes, science and atomic science and all this thing. You can go and search it yourself. But the facts are, what did they do? They harmed the world. They took away the real science of Vedic knowledge of wisdom, which was meant for spirituality, and they want to destroy that completely by contamination. They destroy it totally. They say, okay, we will add some interpretation. We'll tarnish it. We will make it look very ugly. We'll just make them feel like as if this is nothing. So it stopped putting off people to think about those information. But what I'm giving to you in a more perfect order of this body, mind, and soul, bringing it back, this science, so that people do not get trapped by these kind of demonic minds that destroy the human culture. For example, in Rome, there were deities, and these people used to worship the deities and used to offer the milk or food and stuff. Then those sectarian orders came, and they start taking over, so they start destroying the deities, statues in Rome. So the kings start arresting them. Naturally, somebody goes and destroys a church. The FBI will be there too today. That's the way they were. So they actually went against, not knowing why they were worshipping the deities. Deities are meant as like your father's picture is there. You admire your father. You knew this was my father as soon as you see your father's picture. You like to put a garland maybe against your father's picture. But the qualities what your father gave you and brought you up, you admire that. And that's in the form of deities. The Hindus are not worshipping the statues or stones. They are worshipping the qualities, and in one picture is worth 1,000 words. And immediately when people know what these great masters, the god and goddesses who appear from time to time, their attributes, what did they teach us? Did they teach us wrong things? Then we put them in the category of demoniac. Demons teach wrong ideas, wrong things. For example, demonic qualities is always lie, always deceitful, always in anger, always hateful, always arrogant, always very harsh in nature, always misbehave. never allow anybody to be a friend and give compassion and feelings and respect like their own children and brothers. He's self-centered, he's very greedy, he's always in the mood of lust and desires which are unwanted desires. This is the demonic qualities which is spoken by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The word Om, syllable Om, Lord Krishna himself, he says, I'm the Father in chapter 9, verse 17. He says, I am the Father, I am the Grandfather. He spoke Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita over 5,200 years ago. Whenever, wherever our religious practices take place, whenever, wherever religious practices take place, I advent myself millennium after millennium. So he comes in different forms. Sometimes he comes to send his trusted devotees, empower them to go and tell and re-emphasize the teachings, to pull them out from the miseries. To what he does? To annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principles of religion, what I'm discussing right now. These are the principles of religion for every human being to understand. And the third thing what he does, to deliver those who have understood and followed. He delivers them to a spiritual kingdom, back home. No suffering, no more suffering on this planet. Now John Adams, he was a great person, a great noble forefather, and he writes on this about this thing. So let me start this. The immutable universe laws have been in existence ever since time immemorial. No beginning, no end. The duration of our immediate material universe is limited to 311 trillion years and 40 billion years. Now how we come to that calculation? Because when astronomer Mr. Carl Sagan, Dr. Carl Sagan, who passed away, he says this modern time scale comes in close to the Brahma time scale, which is ancient. They started doing the experiment in 1860s and they found out this astronomy, yeah, that's true. Well, they were there, and that's what is in close proximity. Now what is a Brahma day, 1 day of Brahma? It is 1,000 times of 4 yugas. 1,000 times of 4 yugas. These are scientific mathematical calculations. Now, in that 4 yugas, there are 4 yugas. Each yuga has a certain number of years. Satya Yuga, then there is a Treta Yuga, then there is a Dwapar Yuga, and then there is called Kali Yuga, the period of hypocrisy. This is the time where we are going through a period of hypocrisy. Very hypocritical people, very evil-minded, very destructive, very disrespectful, have no love and feeling, self-centered. This is the kind of yuga. We have past about 5,000 years of this yuga. The total number of years of this last yuga, what we are going, and then finally everybody will be just annihilating each other, eating each other or killing each other, murdering. That's the yuga we are in. Now this 432,000 years is what this yuga lasts. So you have a long time to go. So there is no more this Armageddon coming. It will go, they can make an Armageddon, but you are still going to live another 430 or 429 years more. 429,000 years more. Now you have another yuga which is before that. That was Dwapar Yuga. You multiply 432,000 years, it will become 864,000 years. So Dwapar Yuga lasted 864,000 years. So that's a very long time to. And then if you multiply by 3 times, before that was called Treta Yuga. And that Treta Yuga was 1.28 million years. And then is Satya Yuga, the first yuga, is one point when people were very honest, very respectful, very spiritual, very advanced, and that last at 1.72 million. You have to multiply 432,000. Now you combine all this number of years, that becomes a sum of 4 yugas. You multiply that by 1,000 times, That 1,000 tons will give the number of one day of Brahma. That's the time frame of the universe. So one day of Brahma means there's a one night of Brahma. On that one day of Brahma, all humans, all souls, merges to the body of the Vishnu. They all merge to the God. But on the night, on the night, one night of the Brahma, everything merges to the body of, which is called, I would say, freedom for time being. It's not freedom. And then day of Brahma, they all come into being the same way. Again start. But our science, what I teach, and that we become a devotee. A devotee means he does not have to go through this merging and then coming back into being, and then go back again into those cycles of universal cycle. So they go into deep slumber, maybe so many years, one day of Brahma. Now, total time frame of this universe, the material universe, which are formed at the time of creation, which are unlimited creations and unlimited dissolution. It's not one time the creation happens and that's it, because it goes on. You are not going to make a table and chair one time and that's it. It will go on. God, if everything God stops, if He stops working, there will be annihilation. So this universe comes into existence and then annihilate, eventually disintegrate. So 100 years of Brahma is the time when this planet Earth or this universe, this stage which is 331 trillion and 40 billion years is this last. We are about half the time has passed. We have still 165 trillion years left, something like that. So this is the universal makeup. First we have to understand. Now, when Lord Krishna said He is the Father, He is the Mother, He is the syllable Om, He said. Now when He appeared on this planet Earth, that time was very chaotic. Time was very bad. People were becoming very vicious and trying to do things which were not wanted. So He had to appear to bring the dharma, the real good karma for people to do good things, good deeds. And that's where He spoke in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He said, I'm the Father and I'm the Mother and I'm the grandsire and I'm the syllable Om. Syllable Om. So He is the first person beyond the time, beyond birth and death, because the soul, if you can take birth, for example, a lot of people say, how God can, there are many Hindu scientists, they call themselves, how God can appear. This is His home. If I can come over here on this planet Earth, why He cannot come? He can have His own different kind of body. It's a spiritual body. He can appear. You think if I buy a house somewhere in Florida, I cannot go over there because somebody else told? So these kind of ignorance causing the trouble, because He has to maintain the balance of this universe. Wherever He finds the information from people through this meditation power, yoga power, and reaching through transmitting the waves and through mind power, Om, and all these things, that we are being disturbed by many demonic peoples come by and protect us. So sometimes He listens, sometimes He has to do other work. So, but He has time frame. He comes. When He comes, He is going to annihilate those evil people. He start putting some first pressure through these nature devastation. Now, why these ecological imbalance taking place? For example, let me ask you. This is number one, which will give you a little bit highlight. And you have time? Okay, just 15 more minutes and we are through. 15 more minutes, and then we will. The final thing. Now, this is something very necessary to know. In 1814, former U.S. President Mr. John Adams, who had been reading about Hindu religion, wrote to a president of the USA, the sage of Montecito, Thomas Jefferson, about the doctrine of science of birth and death. This is what he's writing, the second President of the United States of America, to Mr. Thomas Jefferson, about the doctrine of this science of birth and death, reincarnation. After revolting against the Supreme Being, some souls were hurled, John Adams wrote, down to the region of total darkness. I'm reading word by word so that you know what he said. They were then, the statement said, released from prison, permitted to ascend to earth and migrate into all sorts of animals, reptiles, birds, beasts, and men, according to their rank and character. If they pass without reproach their several graduations, they were permitted to become cows and men. This is how much important.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Importance to the cows and men. This is the letter. This is, you can check it out. Letters to Thomas Jefferson, March 1814. Correspondence of John Adams, forefathers of the USA, also second USA. If you behave. Now the question is, why did he say if you behave? Humans, if they exercise their free will in the wrong direction, they are going into various destinies. And those destinies you can see every day with you see, God is not harsh on any life. You can see a dog with a puppy, how playful they are. They play with full gusto. He does not make them feel painful. Even the kittens are playing but do you know that this was going to take place? These are the facts of life, which are, you can see, they have 2 eyes, they have 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, anus, and genitals, exactly the same 9 gates in the human body what they have. They also have the same only desire they have, eating and sleeping and defending and things like that. So now the question is that, while we kill these cows, I'm going to give you now the real material inside on the ecological disturbance. So cow has a life of 20 years, for example, natural life. But we prematurely kill the cow. Cow is living in the pasture eating the grass, and so are other animals, 4-legged. Now, what happens to when they are killed? The body is killed, but there is a person who left. That person, as you heard about, they go through a cycle of evolution of the consciousness from different bodies. Not the body changing to the monkey is not changing to a human body, because monkeys are still there, but there is a person who was giving, he lived in the monkey body as a conscious soul, and he left, and he comes to the human form of life after learning, the stages of learning. Now, but then humans fall victim to the wrong environment, wrong association, they fall victim to no understanding, and they also go back to lower lives. So according to their own action, cause and effect, and their own consciousness which they create in this life, it carries to the next destination. Bhagavad Gita very clearly says this. This one, I think I'm going to conclude because you have limited time. I've already spoken about the father and the mother, and then let me see what is missing. The real answer is, if you offer me in love, and devotion, this is the real seed. He is the seed-giving father. A lot of people think that, I give the child, but let's say somebody had 4 children, one become robber, another does drug, the third becomes womanizer, the fourth. So if he had been the actual creator of the children, then why everybody is not harmonious? because there is a difference of consciousness, and their consciousness is a different soul which is entering into the human body at the time of birth. So that seed-giving father, he is Krishna. It says in Bhagavad Gita. So I am the seed-giving father. And so what happened? Here Jesus comes in over here on Bethlehem side. He says, he has many things to speak. Thy name of the Father. He was very clear on that, but he could not speak. Because he stayed 17 years in Krishna temple over there in Puri, Odisha, India. 17 years, from age 13 through 29. So he want to tell that he has many things to speak, thy name of the Father. And it's called Christo. Krishna in Sanskrit is called Christo. And that becomes Christ word. But Christo, Krishna, Christ. So that's how you have got some of the information leaked out from those kind of time, But the facts of these things are that those rituals, basically in Christianity, has been borrowed absolutely from India, absolutely what this culture I'm talking about. So anyway, there are a lot of things I had to discuss with you all, but right now you have limited time. Just give you one example that why the ecology is taking place. That soul, when the forced to leave, there more population explosion take place, human population explosion. And this will clarify from great Pythagoras, who was studying Bhagavad Gita 2,500 years ago, the Greek philosopher. He studied at Takshila University and he spoke. Now that one thing I'd like to read word by word, but I can say okay. Pythagoras, who was born over 500 years ago, before Jesus came on the scene. This is what Pythagoras over 2,500 years ago taught. The Vedic science in Greece and Rome. And he said the strict law of karma, deals measure for measure with anyone who violates the law of nature. As long as people of this world continue to murder and eat their two most benign friends, the cow and the bull. Why the cow is so important, you must look into. I already explained, every infant has to depend, there's transition to boyhood. They will perpetually suffer the sinful reactions of criminal violence. Number one, criminal violence is increasing. Catastrophic wars. United Nations has been formed. The charter was formed to have a peace coexistence between nations. Yet we don't find any coexistence and no harmony, no peace between nations. So their charter, what the aims of the charters were, is yet to be seen, yet to be fulfilled. After 2 World Wars and seeing so many millions of people died, went through gas chambers and a lot of problems, yet there is no peace. There are more problems increasing and wars are increasing. And then the third thing he says, famine. You can see all around Ethiopia, you can see Sudan, Somalia, all these countries are infected with famine and population explosion. These are the 4 things he said 2,500 years ago. That when we mass butcher these animals, we take away the right of life, we are also eating our own feet. So this is what he spoke, and that is what the ecology is, that we are forcing before time of their death, natural death, into human form of life. What happened? A cow was living and eating the grass in the pasture, no cost to human beings, free. But here now human beings need air conditioning, central heating, all the gadgets, all the expenses, automobile. Where is the resources? So you are taking a heavy burden on the resources and then they are misusing those in the form of desires, unwanted desires. Instead of living a harmony life with the family and beautiful children, and that's what they are doing. So these are unfortunate things, But I'll just sing a little bit small version and then we will be through, okay?
Okay.
Hope you understand what I spoke. Huh? Well, you have any question? You want to ask me anything, Michael?
No.
How about you?
No, thank you for.
My lecture was going to be at least 3 hours. I didn't know that. I have a lot of information, but I have to cut it off. This is in praise of my Gurudev, my master. Because of him, I'm today pulled out. Otherwise, I was also going deeper into problems, more material problems. But he checked me out, stopped my bad progress, the wrong train I was about ready to ride on. I got into his train. So let me say, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hari Om Hari Om. You can say that. Hari Om 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 Hari Om. Jai Shri Krishna. So we'll talk next time. You can cut it off if you want to. We're done with. Can I see if it came through?